Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we're back again for another Real 50 over 50 interview. And today we have Virginie Glaenzer, and she is Chief Marketing Officer, a visionary digital strategist, and storyteller. Her signature can-do attitude and solid academic foundation includes degrees from H.E.C in Paris and C.N.A.M, specializing in marketing, business, and psychology in the workplace. She's the author of The Abundance Economy and the co-author of The Leadership Singularity, as well as the host of the thought-provoking Pass the Mic podcast and the founder of Acorn Oak, which we're going to talk a bit about. It's a very interesting agency model. And it's an elite collective of on-demand fractional women executives. So I'm really excited to learn more about that. And Virginie is passionate about understanding human behavior and supporting women. She believes in that the world thrives when feminine and masculine energies exist in greater balance, and is dedicated to helping organizations embrace change to unlock potential and an economy rooted in abundance. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Donna. I'm really excited to be in this conversation with you.
I am as well. I've really been looking forward to this. I love what you do because you've taken these traditional roles in businesses and you've created something totally unique and needed and flexible to be able to guide companies and individuals and organizations as we're in a vastly changing world.
Very true. And I think I'm very in tune with what others feel the need for. I think I went into the fractional model after 25 years in the tech space. I felt a need to really provide and make real lasting change. Because when I was VP of marketing in a corporate work, I always found that people wanted me to make them feel comfortable instead of really guiding them through change.
Yeah.
And I feel that as a fractional CMO, I can offer an unbiased outside perspective.
Yeah.
This is about building a legacy, not job security, and that makes a big difference. And the community aspect that goes with being a fractional CMO at H.E.C and supporting Acorn Oak also made. I think we can feel in the air this desire and need for collaboration.
Yeah, it is. And when I worked in my job before I started my business, I worked in large global law firms for 25 years. And I was a project person, and I worked on the implementations of all of our financial and marketing applications. And when I worked there, I was a cog in the wheel. And after I left, I was a consultant for about 8 months, to wrap up projects. It was such a different experience because I was able to look at it from a different vantage point. And, I was just kind of pulled out of all of that internal minutia, the unhealthy relationships of people that have worked together in a dystopian environment for way too long.
I agree. I think when you're an outsider, you're no longer trying to protect your title or playing politics. And as a result, you don't drink the Kool-Aid, and I think the drink the Kool-Aid syndrome can often cloud judgment. So.
Well, it keeps people from being accountable and things just don't get done.
Exactly.
And I think when you come in as an outsider, you can really set timelines and keep them and gently push people into becoming accountable for what their role is in a project.
And I see really since COVID a profound change in the workforce, the way organizations are thinking about hiring key executive. I think the economy in general have always been very permissive when it came to hiring contractors and consultant, but it was more on the project side, I think since the COVID, lots of organizations realized that when you have your executive team working remotely, you actually don't care how much time they're spending. You really care about the delivery,
Yeah.
which requires a different type of management.
Yes.
And so I think the fractional model is a wonderful opportunity, and we'll see more and more organization building executive team on the fractional model, not only because you actually pay a fraction of the cost, but you have people who are not involved in politics. They're really focusing on taking the anxiety, the internal angst outside the organization. So it's a big change that and a profound disruption that I'm seeing in the marketplace.
Yeah. And is it getting easier to kind of present yourself as a service provider to companies than it was pre-COVID?
Oh, absolutely. I think in the past, and I became a fractional CMO randomly, never thought I was going to
Mhm,
be in consulting because I didn't like the independence
mhm,
side, the loneliness side of
mhm,
consultancy. But in 6 years ago, I had to explain the difference between a fractional executive and versus a consultant. Nowadays, a lot of people are very familiar with the model. And it's I think now we're seeing a shift in the scope. In the
mhm,
past, it was very much around project focus,
mhm.
solving immediate pain. Nowadays, I see, and usually the time frame was 3 to 9 months, a typical engagement for a fractional CMO. Nowadays, I see much longer project because organization, once you fixed out whether it's a customer disconnect or a sales or declining, whatever the issue is, you've built, you're starting to build an executive team. And so the fractional CMO can stay much longer.
Yeah.
We're talking 1, 2, 3 years on board. So
Yeah, because there's always another problem after you fixed one
exactly. Yeah.
or project or something. And I like that approach of not just looking at the pain point, but looking at, what are their goals? What are their dreams? What are their
Mm.
hopes for their company or their organization? Um, I even on the smaller scale, because I work primarily with individuals, um, I like to find people that aren't just looking to solve a problem, but they're looking to grow into their dreams.
Mhm.
And
And
that's where
that's
it
another benefit of being a fractional CMO is you can choose who you want to work with.
yes, yes.
So finding people that you align with from a value, from even the communication style. And very often before I start working with a client, I'll say, why don't we start with a month? Let's just
Mhm,
see if we work well, if we're, creating magic when we
mhm.
meet, or if it's too difficult. So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
big difference.
yeah, it is, and, that's an adjustment too when you come from a corporate environment that, you accept that you have that choice. You embrace that you have that choice
Hmm.
because we've
Very
worked
much
for
so.
so many years where we didn't have that choice.
Yeah. And I think the success for anyone who wants to go into a fractional model, whether they are looking at decreasing the number of hours or just looking for a different lifestyle, the key to success is really to be part of a community.
Mhm,
I think the old model of a consultant being by themselves and kind of this lone wolf attitude and mindset isn't working for individual, but also for the company.
yeah,
You want people who are able to adapt, who are thriving in diversity, who are able to shift their perspective and really let go their ego and adapt to the team. And there's plenty of communities.
mhm,
Eco is the community that I started a few years ago because I felt very lonely,
mhm,
and it's just a space. It's a space where you can meet other women specifically
mhm,
because there's something special being just with surrounded by women. Um, and the organization that I've joined a few months ago, TechCXO, is another collective of fractional executive, and it's been a game changer for my own fractional practice. By myself, I always felt that I was a little bit constrained in my own ability to bring other resources
mhm.
and even pick the brain of other fractional, CTO, CRO, COO. So being part of a collective can really support your own work and benefit your clients.
Yeah, I mean, because like one of the things that happens is, you can do all of this excellent work for a client, and then they bring in somebody else
Hmm.
without your without your, contribution to that and to that decision, and they can just undo everything that you've done.
Well, that's also the reason why fractional CMO are very different from consultant. This is
Yes.
not just about building strategies,
Yeah.
it's about building a strategy that the team or yourself can implement. So
Mhm,
you're accountable. We were
mhm,
talking earlier about
mhm,
accountability. As a fractional CMO, you're accountable for your team's results, for
mhm,
your own ability to deliver. It's really a very different way to work than the traditional consultant model
mhm,
that was maybe presenting brilliant idea and concept and report, but it stopped there. Whereas in my role, I actually have to launch those campaigns, to look at those KPIs, and
mhm,
ultimately grow the company.
mhm.
So it's a big difference.
So now, how can you explain how the collaborative portion of that works? Like, if you need to pull together a team to work on a specific project, is this like a team that you have in house, or is this a team that you kind of pull together ad hoc per project?
So at Acorn Oak, the members are able to bring others within
Mhm,
their clients. At Acorn Oak, everybody's independent
mhm,
and there's no collective from a client standpoint. So when I was 100% at Acorn Oak, I would bring in some of my other members to support clients. At TechCXO, it's a little bit different. This is an exclusive, so all my clients come through TechCXO,
mhm,
and in that model, I'm able to bring partners for a few hours, or even step aside as someone takes the lead. And sometimes it's adding resources to the project. So very often, as a fractional CMO, I'll see that the client has an issue in sales and their sales teams are just not performing. So I'm able to bring a CRO,
mhm,
a client who's thinking about legacy and wants to either sell his company or bring in, someone from his family to take over. I know a couple of TechCXO CEO and COO who are going to help those founders to do the right transition.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
And
it's
and yeah, and from, the client perspective, that's got to be so comforting that somebody else is just handling all of that.
exactly. And people, we already get along together. So it's a very big
Mhm,
change from bringing an executive team who don't know each other, and
mhm,
they're bringing their desires, their challenge, their past experiences, positive and negative.
mhm,
Whereas when we work as fractional and we bring a team together,
mhm.
we have the same goal. There's no ego involved. We already align on the
And
vision and the mission. So,
and just the hiring process alone, to be able to hire
yes,
people at that level, even
very
if
true.
it's for a short-term project, I mean, that's time-consuming and expensive.
Absolutely. I mean, hiring fractional executive is just provides such faster results rather
Yeah.
than hiring an individual.
I
The
mean, you could be done by the time they hire somebody.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the perception of what, again, when you work remotely, the perception of full time is an illusion.
Mhm.
Um, you want people who are able to deliver, who are passionate, who are creative, especially in the age of AI,
Yeah.
right? That are profoundly changing the way we hire people. We think
Mhm,
of role based on task.
mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to have a conversation about was AI and, the new tools that we have available to us. And, how are you advising clients to bring these tools into their organization?
So I've spent most, if not all, of my career in the tech. Right, I originally came from France in 1998 to San Francisco Bay Area. I'm the typical immigrant. I moved into Silicon Valley because I was already a tech nerd and an entrepreneur. So I have, and I think it's important to recognize if you have a positive inclination or a negative perception of technology. So for me, technology is an enabler. And I've done 15, if not 20 years of digital transformation, which is about bringing new tools and new processes internally to help people become more efficient
Mm-hmm.
and productive.
Mm-hmm.
And in that last 20 years, I've seen how difficult it is for people to change. It's just not in our human nature. There's a resistance to change, and we can talk for hours about
Yeah,
that.
this is what I
AI,
did when I worked at the law firm. I
exactly.
was taking people from like Selectric typewriters to their first word processor.
Right. Now, with AI is a different type
Yeah.
of animal. It
It
is a technology that is questioning, putting in question the society that we've built and the type of organization that we want to build. In the next few years, we'll see organizations who are doing $5 billion in revenue with 10 people. So
Mhm,
what does it say about the purpose of coming together,
mhm,
a collective being brought together to create value for the collective, right? For
yeah,
employees, for the local communities. It's really, it raises ethical questions. So when I first have a conversation with clients about AI, it usually comes through a lens of productivity and improving the the how fast we're able to deliver something, and then the quality of the work. And these are the two steps. The first step is AI helps you be faster in your work,
mhm,
and then the second step is to actually improve the quality of your work. The third step, which is, I haven't seen a lot of organization going into that phase, especially if they have a large employee base, is AI is challenging the way we work, even thinking about our job. As a fractional CMO, I used to do a lot of strategic planning and coming up with innovative idea and looking at, doing market research, being able to aggregate a huge number of information in my mind to find opportunities, and really understand the human perception of a product. So a new company that wants to launch a new service or product would be able to position themselves in a whole different way. I'm now using AI for a lot of those tasks, and it's been really empowering, but it also brings to question my own utility. Like, how am I right now there is only, it's a tool, but moving forward with agentic AI, which is using agent with other agent. So it's almost doing automation
mhm,
using AI. So you'll have one AI agent who's managing other AI agent. It brings in question my own ability. What am I going to do once I'm able to create an AI agent that becomes me?
mhm.
And I have more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Um, but it is helping, I think, a lot of people, and that's the way that I'm trying to bring AI in organization, is to support the individual's work. So if you're a social media manager, instead of spending time into writing the post and scheduling them, the job is evolving into a lot more community management, listening to what people are saying, being closer to looking at the trends. So each job, I think, is evolving. Whether you're in sales, in accounting, in finance, this is the opportunity with AI today. It's to look at your own job and complement it with AI, so you can continue to learn, push yourself, stay uncomfortable, and the discovery is finding kind of a new role that fits better with what you truly want to do.
Hmm.
Instead of staying stuck into a number of tasks that had been designed years ago.
Hmm. I agree 100%. The people that will excel are the people that know how to use these tools properly. And, like I
Yes,
see.
and you say excel, but it's not just excel. I think it's one of the challenge of AI is that we've built a society where the meaning of life comes from our work.
Mhm.
And today our work is being challenged.
Yeah.
So the meaning of our lives is being challenged, and that's causing a lot of angst and anxiety in individuals, in founders, in managers. And that's why we see the young generation pulling back from
Mhm.
this work, from thriving and focusing on their career.
Yeah.
Our generation, you and I, our baby boomers and Gen X, we've built our lives around our work. We've defined who we are through our work.
Yeah.
But the new generation, that's not
It's
what's
different.
appealing to them.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking before we went live. I mean, we both have kids that just graduated college, and like my son wants to be in a band and be a bartender. I mean, he emails me and he tells me or texts me and he's like, "I'm muddling things," and I'm like, "Great."
Mm.
um, so he'll do what he wants to do as long as he's happy and doing his thing. But like I never had any expectation that he would be an insurance salesman or a lawyer or a broker of some sort. He's an artist.
Mhm. And I think a lot of that generation are trying to find a balance between having enough to live the type of life that they want and staying true to themselves.
Yeah. Like
Um,
for him, happiness is a non-negotiable.
exactly.
I didn't learn that until I was in my 50s.
Yeah. Yeah. The pulling your socks up or, pulling all nighters
Yeah.
and being loyal is
Yeah.
something that is quite not understood by them
No, they're
because they've
loyal to
seen.
themselves.
Exactly, because you have to be loyal to yourself first before you
Mhm.
actually dedicate your life
Yeah.
to an organization who, from can ask you to leave with no guarantee. And we are seeing that over and over in the last 20 years. People get fired when the stock is high, the investors are making money, and yet people get let go. So.
The deciding factor for me to leave my job, it was already kind of in the back of my mind because I'm a solo parent. My son was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and I was like, I'm never going to see this child. And then I go into work one day, and there's this guy Lou that worked there for like 40 years, and Lou was like 6'5", and he passed out on the floor, and everybody's like stepping over him to get to their desks, and I was
Mm,
like, but it's Lou, like, give me my phone, I'm calling an ambulance. I mean, like, the man had a heart attack. And they're
mm.
just like, everyone's just going around Lou to get to their busy day. And like on the way home that day, I sat on the bus, a train, I can't even remember what it was. And I just thought like, wow, like I gave so much of my life. But now the stakes were different because I had this child at home that needed me, and I was like, I'm not okay with any of this. I have to find another way, and I did. I mean, it was like 18 years ago, but I think our kids think that way first,
Hmm.
and it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we got lost a little bit, if not a lot, in building lives based on financial success
Yeah,
and social status. Um, and
and
this belief, I think, to me,
aligning our
yeah.
value with ours.
Exactly. And I think the core essence of this issue that we're finding ourselves in, this situation, is really a profound belief in scarcity,
Mhm.
something that is not only manufactured, but often driven by fear and greed.
Yes.
right? And that's why we crave for social status. When in fact, life is showing us every single day that life is an abundance.
Yeah.
But in order for us to come back to that groundedness, I don't know how you pronounce this
Grounded.
word. Yes, which hasn't changed through the years. It's still something we can go back to. I think one way to go back to that feeling, that peaceful feeling, is to ask ourselves, how much is enough for me? Because when we ask ourselves how much is enough, we have to raise those questions. How much money do I need in my bank account to feel comfortable and sleep well at night? How many pairs of shoes or clothes do I need in my closet to feel that I can express my own identity?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's in through abundance that we can find collaboration, I think.
I've been in collaboration with Claude and Perplexity for the last couple of weeks, kind of
Mhm.
strategizing, figuring out like what comes next. Because my son really is on his own. He's good, and I want to scale back a little bit.
Mm.
And the thing that keeps coming up is like, just refining who my client is and the services that I want to offer. I uploaded everything into either Claude or Perplexity, and just started asking it questions. And at one point, it just said, "Stop! You're doing too much. You don't need to do all of that." But the thing that keeps rising to the top is, I want to work with people that don't want to scale.
Mm. Yeah, I think scale is a byproduct of success. It
Yes.
shouldn't be the aim.
Yeah.
It's like if you're providing a service or a solution or a product that alleviates the pain of others, that really
Mhm.
helps others,
Yeah.
they'll find it.
Mhm.
Of course, you need to have the basic story, but I think people who work too hard at marketing, who are trying too hard at finding that story, will create something that makes that overpromise and underdeliver. And to
Yes.
me, that's what's happening in a lot of product or services you can
Mhm.
buy. I've been really dissatisfied from buying a new washer at
Mhm.
Best Buy for delivery. That was the most painful experience that I've ever seen. And I had to reach out to the CEO on LinkedIn to complain about the over promise and the lack of delivery.
Mhm.
Um, and even to the point that I felt that these guys are crooks. It's been awful. And I think that's just not one experience. It's
Yeah,
everywhere.
it is. And that all contributes to the fear
Hmm.
and imposter syndrome and all of these things that keep us, scuttling, not really achieving, not achieving in a way that feels good.
Hmm.
It's more of a scorecard. And then
Exactly.
if we
And
don't
very
if we don't
often,
yeah.
yeah, very often when we look at that scorecard, if we are able to go underneath, we'll realize that a lot of our desires that we think of ours are not ours.
No.
We're very often, it's so easy to build a life based on other people's perspective and desire. And I think that's when I look at my three daughters, I'm inspired by them because they're able to go back to their true self and
Yeah.
build a life or recognize the desire that they may feel that are not theirs,
Mhm.
that they have to let
Yeah.
go. This
Yeah.
peer pressure. They're a
Mhm.
lot more attuned to what matters to them, truly, instead of just, pleasing other people. Especially for women, I think we've been really conditioned to please others, to be the last one, instead of putting ourselves
Yeah.
first, putting the oxygen mask on.
Yeah, for
Uh,
for sure. I mean, I think you're the 115th interview, and I've done 17 panels, and that's consistent across all of these interviews that, you know, women in our generation, we don't realize this until our 50s.
mm, yeah, which
And
is
that's why
why 50 is such an amazing age. To me, it feels like a rebirth.
it is.
Literally, like I can finally put myself first, ask myself, what do I really want?
And 60 is even better.
Oh, I can't wait. I actually cannot wait. I think I'm 40, 54. Yeah, every year it changes, but I cannot wait. And my gray hair, I'm so when I look at those gray hair, I'm it's pushing me
Mhm.
to oh, it's a reminder that I've earned them.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to pretend that I'm in my 30s and I really want to be who I am without compromising. I've done enough compromise.
Yeah, you just get to be you because you're you. And, yeah, I mean, that's the best part of all of this is watching all of these women that I've connected with, that I've known for years, just really stepping into who they are. And everyone is totally unique, and everything that they're doing is different because they're pulling together all of the parts of their experience and their stories and their relationships and their perceived failures, because there aren't any. They're all lessons. And just pulling this together in their special way. And it's all of service, and it's all of making something better than it was before. And like when I think of AI, I think of it as, for people like us, it's an assist. It's an assist to be able to do things that we never imagined we'd be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to do that when you're 50, 60, 70, 80. I mean, this morning, somebody from this community sent me a video on Instagram. She's 80 years old. Her and another woman from the community, they're doing a weekend event. And their biggest challenge in the whole thing was like, how do we get people to pay us? Because we can't figure out how to get a shopping cart together. And they figured it out. But I mean, it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Nobody's waiting to go into a nursing home. They're doing things.
Exactly.
They're changing the world.
And I think if we had more women in power in leadership, the world would be really changing much faster. We have the data now to show that when you have a woman on your advisory board or in the executive team, the company will be more productive, more financially sustainable. So it's I still see sometimes organization with just men, and I think they're really missing on something.
Yeah, they really are. And um, what what do you see coming next in the world of women's leadership? Like, how do you see that growing and women really stepping in to the roles that they should be in more often?
I think communities are an amazing way to get to be empowered. And I think that's naturally women are very collaborative. So it feels really good to be in a community. And I think communities, I am seeing more and more women communities that are helping individual rise above the noise
Mhm.
or take that next step, rebuild their confidence. And I think the communities, or especially in a world where politically and even technology, there's a dark side of technology, algorithm that are just pushing negative stuff. It's easy to be depressed when you look at the world, but I think it's up to us to choose what we want to put into our mind. But being part of multiple communities can be extremely powerful and empowering, specifically, I think, specifically for women, because we thrive in cooperation.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
And we're doers, We
exactly.
want to get things done. We don't want to just sit around and feel disempowered.
Yes.
I as I mentioned earlier before we went live, it's a weird world we're living in right now, but it's an exciting time to be here.
It's definitely a world in crisis.
Yes.
I think people living in World War II would have said the same thing. But it's also a world where there's an opportunity for each of us to take our agency back. It's not something that we may have been taught. There's a lot of sheep out there. And as the example you're giving, someone collapsing in the street, how many people are going to stop?
Yeah.
Right. And it's a sad reality, but that's the consequence of the past. We are at a phase where if we all take our agency back in the choices we make every single day, in what we eat, what we buy, how we invest our time and our money, choosing the people that we're surrounding with, that's where the collective is really going to change.
And every one of those things you mentioned sends a signal. It sends a signal to the people that are making bad decisions on our behalf. And it sends a signal to the people that are feeling disempowered that there is something every single one of us could do.
Exactly. Well said.
Wow. So this has just flown by, but I like to end these interviews with a wisdom bomb, something actionable that people could take with them and maybe change the world a little bit.
Well, the one thing that I try to remind myself, that I think a few years ago, someone asked me, "What would you tell your younger self?" And what I would say to myself that I would have liked that someone told me years ago, is to relax and to trust my gut feel more than other people's point of view. I think I've come to realize that we all have the answers we're searching for, but we were never told to go within.
No.
And I think that's what I'm trying to relearn is to first, whatever emotion, whatever thought I have, to stop and go within before I go to other people or ChatGPT and for answers.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And if I could add something to that,
Of course.
listen to our kids because they already know how to do this.
Exactly. They're definitely a light in the world.
Yeah. Well, this has just been a delight to talk to you today. And if anybody is watching this on the replay, please tag us with any questions or comments, and we'll keep the conversation going. And please connect with Virginie. She's on LinkedIn often, and her website is acornoak.net. And we'll be back next week with more. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone. And thank you, Virginie, for being here with me today. Wait. We got a comment. Oh, Suzanne. I think this might be who introduced us. Trust your instinct. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for the introduction. Okay, we're off. Have a great Wednesday, everyone.
Thank you so much, Donna.